Okay, good evening. This is the meeting of the Milford Finance Committee. It's March 26th, 2025. Okay, agenda items. First is the prior meetings minutes. Motions?
Move to approve.
Al, motion approved.
Second.
Second by Lauren. We have people on Zoom, so roll call. Dave?
Yes.
Bill? Al, Brant?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Okay, so minutes are approved unanimously. Invitation to speak, anyone? No, okay. Okay, next on the list is the fire department. You guys want to join us? You guys can pull those closer if they're too far away.
Yeah, they're kind of far away, aren't they? That's better.
Good evening. For the benefit of the clerk, could you identify yourselves, guys?
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I'm Mark Nelson. I'm the fire chief, and with me is Michael DeTore. He's the deputy fire chief. So we're here tonight.
Thank you for coming in.
Sure. So we're here.
Michael, you got to teach him to bring a prop. I mean, Robbie's going to come in and keep the police tradition of ask for money, bring a gun. You got to bring in an axe or something.
Noted.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, before they started, did you want to mention that we do have copies if anyone?
Oh, thank you. There were some documents produced or circulated by Paul Abendanza today. People on Zoom presumably have electronic copies. If there's anyone present who needs a hard copy, Tom has them.
Trent, you do? Yep. Oops,
Anybody else? Anybody need one? Okay. Bill. These are front copies.
Thank you. Do you guys want to just provide an overview, or?
Sure. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for having us tonight. Again, Mark Nelson, fire chief. So, going back to the beginning of this fiscal year, we had a project, a program that we wanted to institute that we talked at length about with town officials, and it was a staffing improvement. So if you recall, we were looking to restructure the fire department, add captains, provide supervisors, which ended up being lieutenants at the Birch Street Fire Station, and then to increase our minimum staffing day and night to 7 firefighters and 2 supervisors. So we've achieved most of that, and I really want to stress how great it has been to have captains and lieutenants daily on shift, and then this increase of firefighters. Now, the increase in firefighters allowed us to staff 2 people on the ladder truck during the day. That was the goal. With the money that was allotted in overtime, we were able to, improve the daytime staffing, but not necessarily the nighttime staffing. There wasn't enough funding. But because the project started later due to, establishing the captains and negotiations and things of that sort, it took some time. So because it took time, the money is stretching a little bit further. So we're able to staff around the clock with 7 firefighters.
Hold on one second, just the procedural. If anyone is on Zoom, if you could just mute, unless you're speaking. Thank you. I'm sorry, Chief.
Oh, that's fine. So at this point, we're staffing around the clock with 7 firefighters and 2 supervisors. That wasn't part of the plan, but because the project started later, we're able to do that. We're hoping to continue that. That's what our ask is for this fiscal year, is to maintain 7 firefighters and 2 supervisors around the clock. And I think you'll notice an increase in overtime. That's how we're going to achieve that. We really wanted to start the process of hiring people, 1 a year for 4 years, to reduce the overtime. But I don't think we're fiscally able to do that this year. We're backing off of that request, but we really need to maintain this minimum staffing. it has been, like I said, has been night and day for us.
So, go ahead.
Chief, these increase in staff, you're projecting a 2.4% increase for next year. Is that enough to cover these increases you're asking for?
The reason, so it's either 2.2 or 2.4% increase from last year, whatever. The reason why we're able to do that is because there have been retirements, people come in at lower salaries, so we actually have less money that we're asking for this year. But the key is the overtime. So the overtimes, it's a real number, you know. That $200,000 increase in overtime, we hope, is going to be enough to get us through the entire fiscal year, staffing 7 firefighters.
But the answer is yes, then. You can achieve your goals.
Yes.
With only a 2.4% increase.
Yes.
A 2.4% increase, you're talking about in the salary and wage line item?
Talking about his proposed expense budgets.
My expenses level, right?
220. Account 220 going to 6399.
6261 to 6399. Now, you're up on a contract year?
Yes.
So I assume we don't have all the compensation.
There's no COLA in there for next year, there's no
No.
contract for next year increases.
Right.
So we got to keep that.
On top of that.
Eventually, we'll have to fund the increases.
Right.
Yes. That,
The contractual increase, if it goes up X dollars, we'll do like we did every year in the past. But as far as the level budget, my hat's off to you for being able to get it done at 2.4%.
we're trying, and I think, like I said, we're going to be able to achieve it. But we're seeing some gains. I also wanted to mention another project that we're trying. It's a kind of a pilot program for us. You know, we got a new rescue vehicle this year. We just took delivery of it, so we have a second rescue now. So instead of, in Birch Street, when there was a medical call, we would always run the fire engine, the big fire engine, right? So we're incorporating this smaller vehicle to reduce the wear and tear on the larger vehicle, hopefully to reduce costs. I don't know what the real money is going to be in that, but this is a significant change for us, operationally.
You don't save any direct money in the budget this year. The wear and tear on that $900,000 machine, it's got to pay dividends long term.
And my point in saying this is that we really need to maintain the 7 firefighters to keep this program going.
And I appreciate that, and obviously you're paying a lot of attention to keeping your budget in line, and I applaud those efforts. I mean, I feel that obligation just to put a little bit of caution in. The overtime budget is increasing $400,000 over a 2-year period.
Correct.
Right? And certainly our objective here as a holistic view of the budget is to try to give you guys what you need. I mean, depending on the severity of issues that arise, whether it's this year or next year, you understand that we may need to look more closely at that. But we are trying to give you guys what you need. And just to remind everybody, we're not taking any votes tonight. We're going to have 4 departments, then we're going to have another meeting with schools, then we'll vote on all the budget issues, hopefully at the next meeting. But in the meantime, I'd like you to take this opportunity to get any of your questions answered on this budget as well as the other budgets for tonight. So I'll open the floor up. David?
Yeah, this is a small question, but it'll alleviate a question for the IT department head. There's telephone in your budget, right, of like 11,000 rounding up.
I'm sorry.
There's a telephone line item.
Okay.
Telephone is also in the IT budget that he has servicing for Verizon, I guess, services the fire department. So can you let me know what's in that budget for telephone, and why doesn't it all just go to IT, just keep it all in one place?
I believe we're paying for cell phones, iPads, and those sort of things out of that budget. We're still paying some phone lines from Verizon, but we are migrating everything to fiber optic because we still were working with copper lines.
David, I can elaborate if that helps.
More generally, Chris, I appreciate you answering this question, but more generally, before we let these 2 fellows go, if there are any line items in your detail that you think the fire department should be chiming in on, please identify, so this is the only one?
For me, yes, with the fire department, yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So, yes, so they have their own cell phones and tablets. They pay for those. They have emergency lines that are at the fire department, which are separate from the phone system that the police department and the fire department share. The ones that the fire department and police department share is what we pay for. The other lines for fire are on them. Okay?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just out of curiosity, have you looked at the possibility of what one additional firefighter would do to your overtime line?
So we had hoped to hire one additional firefighter per year for 4 years. So there are 4 work groups. Each work group works a 24-hour shift. So group 4 works today, tomorrow's group 1, 2, 3, 4. It keeps in succession like that. One firefighter helps 25% of the shifts. So it really only helps one shift. When you get to 2 firefighters, it makes more of an impact. 3 and 4 make the final impacts, where it takes more people to be out to hire people back. Right now, I'm almost at a 1 out, 1 in scenario. When, if I were to get to 9 a shift, 9 firefighters a shift, there would have to be 3 out before we hired 1 back. So it makes a nice, pad, so to speak, or, it puts that, it reduces the overtime. That's the long and short of it. But right now, we also know that hiring people is a hit on health insurance and benefits and everything else. So we're trying to back off of this. The bigger benefit for us is keeping a minimum complement on duty every day.
Are the medical calls still constituting about 80% of your total calls?
73%,
73?
including motor vehicle accidents.
Anyone else have questions? Carly?
One thing, and I apologize for being late. One thing I'd love to chime in on is these guys do an amazing job with their budget in terms of trying to serve the town and the increasing needs of the town based on what we give them to kind of work with. But one comment of note that you guys had shared with me was, as they go through and we hire and people retire, it is probably important to note that as the staffing becomes younger, there's less PTO. There is less overtime, there's less people that can actually call out. So it's not going to eclipse everything, Bill, but I do think in normal course of practice, there may end up being less overtime as the staff goes more younger than older with increased weeks of time off and such.
That's a fair point. Yeah, because overtime may cost you a little bit more, but it also gives more flexibility to the department and to the town in terms of financial constraints. So it's always a balancing act. Anyone else?
Final shout out. I was involved in an accident last weekend. I was amazed at the efficiency, the speed, the professionalism of the fire department staff that showed up.
Thanks.
I had, if what I experienced was any indication of the level of quality that your department brings to the town, I'm very proud.
I thank you for letting me know. I really appreciate the feedback, and I know they work hard every day to deliver quality professional service. So thank you.
So thank you both for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Police Department.
I'll be quick.
I'm all by myself. Nobody wanted to come with me. I tried, but nobody wanted to come with me.
Just in case you needed an introduction, if you could.
Yeah, I will. Robbie Tassino, I'm the police chief here in Milford. Good evening. Good to see everybody together. So the budget you have before you, first of all, I want to thank Carly, I want to thank Vin, coming to me, working with the subcommittee. And before we get into some numbers, there's some things that I have to share. Obviously, we all know me as a passionate person. We started off this year trying to address our shortcomings. And what are our shortcomings? If anybody has social media, they watched the fight at the high school. Pretty shocking. I wanted another SRO. I was told we don't have the money for it. I promise you with 100% certainty, as our good friend Al Correa said, he was involved in a traffic accident not long ago. Thank God he's fine. We're all going to be involved in some sort of traffic incident. It's just a matter of numbers. That's why you have insurance. So I wanted to start a traffic division. We don't have the money for it. So a lot of work, the point of my little rant is a lot of work went into this. And Carly can tell you, certainly Zach and his team, and I can't thank them enough, a lot of work went into this budget, which is 1.7. 1.7. The only thing, again, and I learned this from Al, and I quoted you. I've been quoting you. What you want to do, what you think you have to do, when you absolutely positively can't live without. And the one position in this that we can't live without is this training sergeant's position that we talked about. The reason for that is with police reform, of a department our size, where do we always end up in litigation? Okay, whether it be a civil litigation between two parties and sometimes the town, or certainly the criminal process, it's the training. And how's the training mandated? How's it tracked? And what are you doing? We need to assign somebody to training. My department's too big to try to have someone flip the coin twice, and that's what we have now. We have people assigned to training division that I said, hey, we need to get these guys trained. Okay, I'm going to get to that, chief, but I'm covering patrol today. I have to cover patrol. Okay, well, when can we do it? Boom, 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 boom. We have timelines, we have mandates. So in that, there's the increase that in the personal services. The other increases in personal services are you have people that are in steps in grade, that go up in steps. I also have people, and I'm very proud to say, that finish their master's degrees and other programs, which we compensate them for. That's where the personal services came from. The other increase in personal services that you'll see is through dispatch. Again, keep in mind, the dispatch center is police, fire, and EMS. This is not just the police department. Okay, we're very lucky in the 911 grant world. We apply for a lot of grants. And as Zach and his team will tell you, we get a lot of money that we can come back in to kind of offset things. Well, that's money we give back to the town. Right now, I'm in a $48,000 overtime deficit. This happens every year. We have sleepless nights because my grant's coming. The money's coming. And what do we do with that money? We pay the town back. Last year, as Zach can tell you, we gave back over $100,000. That's where it came from. The money was picking up. Talking with Carly and Vin when we met, what we came up with is we increased our dispatch overtime budget to kind of take a loan from the town so we wouldn't have to go into that deficit. The simple truth is, I just don't feel comfortable always counting on this grant. What if it doesn't happen? No indication that it's stopping. It's been there for, I don't know, the last 15 years. It comes in where, you know, State 911 was just at our facility last week. Love what we're doing, ahead of the curve. Couldn't say enough good things about us. But I think just to rely on that money and go in a deficit is dangerous business.
And the grants just go into the general fund for the town? Is that how this works?
Yes.
Okay.
It offsets his budget, so he's kind of fronted it, if you will.
But he won't need the offset going forward, so what happens to the grant money? Is it just go into the general fund?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where you see that increase. Other than that, there is no other increases. As far as everything down the bottom, we didn't do anything with it because I know this is a sensitive time. Again, needs, wants, and you know, Carly brought it up. I think there's a lot of things that I'm gonna bite my fingernails over. I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of things that we have that come in. Again, keep in mind, we run dispatch center. Just the licenses alone for the software we need, you get into almost $100,000. And you try to, Chris, right? I mean, and I try to do the dartboard and work with these companies and say, I appreciate that. Can you just tell me what you're going to be charging me next year? And Carly and I had a big laugh about this, and they're like, yeah, we'll get back to you. Well, they own the market. They're going to get back to me. You know when they're going to get back to me? When they send me an invoice. So we do our best projection for these things. okay? And as far as the overtime with the dispatch center, you're like, well, why is the overtime so high? It's a flawed system. You have two people sitting. One person's sick. We just had someone out on maternity leave for 12-plus weeks. That's overtime every time they're not there. There is no way to fix this. That's just the system. And every other town does it the same way. And when you have two dispatchers sit, one is out, you have to replace it with overtime. People go on vacation, you have to replace it with overtime. It's not like on the patrol side where we have, let's say, so on patrol we want a 4-and-1 minimum, okay? 4 officers, 1 sergeant. So there are some nights where we have the benefit of, let's say, there's 7 officers. We have a traffic car, we have a warrant car, it's going out and serving warrants, okay? Well, it's okay if when we have those 7 officers, somebody takes a night off, or somebody calls out sick. It's not creating overtime. Whereas dispatch, every time it creates overtime.
So the training sergeant, is this someone who actually trains, or is this a scheduler for training by other people?
Yes. It's everything. I mean, I know that it's everything. It's someone who works with the police reform people. It's someone who, first of all, is certified and trained. We're lucky. We already have these people that work here. They're certified and, to teach CPR and first aid. They're weapons officers. They're defensive tactics officers. They have all these certifications, which is another little caveat to this. They have to go to all these conferences and all these trainings to keep up that certification all year long. It's not, you're an attorney. It's not you're an attorney, you passed the bar, God bless. They have to go away to these classes. They have to maintain certain standards, and I know attorneys do too, but there's this regulation that they have to fall into. I was nice to the attorneys, what are you talking about? So they have these regulations that they have to fall into, which is time-consuming, which now also pulls them off their patrol duty. I'm filling that with overtime, and they're trying to do 2 things. It doesn't work. So that's what you have before you. Again, it's extremely lean. It's extreme. I know. Listen. Every dime. One day Andy was in the office and I showed him how we reuse folders over and over again.
Good memory.
Yeah, and I know that's not our problem, but we are very, conscious of the money that is, trusted to us to spend and how we allocate it. There are many more things that we want to do in this town. I think, to be quite honest, we're behind the 8 ball with the traffic safety. If I had a nickel for every complaint via email and phone about traffic, and I hope, and I know there are people listening, that we just can't address. I had somebody say to me, well, it was great, you sent I actually went and visited this person, and they said, that's great, you had the officer come here, but they were only here for 10 minutes. That's because they had to go to a domestic. You know what I mean? So
I just have one other question.
Sure, go ahead.
And I'll open up the floor.
Yeah.
Now, the town effectively hired, not operationally, but financially, the 2 officers last year
Yep.
because of the family unit.
Yep.
Any progress or word on potential alternative grants? Because obviously, if we could
Sure.
replace those grants, that would free up money for a couple of officers that you're talking about.
And not to cut you off, I apologize. So we're on top of trying to get grants to fund everything. So we always look for ways to, unfortunately, the only real avenue for grant money that, if you look online, they're like, oh, grant for this, grant for that, grant for this. But when you actually apply to them, they're like, well, we're not giving nothing out right now. There's so much uncertainty because of the political climate, and I'll leave that there, at the state level, about what, in the federal level, what we can get for grants and how attainable they are. But we always have our, ear to the grindstone as what we can get for a grant. I'm told coming down the wire that we'll be able to get some grants for family services. Again, it's like the invoice that's coming in the mail. Yeah, I'll get it to you. So the only surefire thing that I have commitments on are the 911. That's steadfast. That money comes, Zach and I have sleepless nights until it shows up, but it showed up every...
Mid to late June.
Yeah, I got to knock on some wood somewhere.
That money, that comes from who?
From the state.
From the state.
That's a state 911 infrastructure grant.
That they give to all the cities and towns?
Well, not all.
Not all.
No, people who run departments like we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll open it up. Mike?
You mentioned the desire for a school resource officer earlier, presumably for the high school. Would that come out of your budget or the school budget? Your budget? Do you ever see any grant money for a position like that?
The grant money for that is, from my understanding, is very restricted. And, you know, we need somebody that can go to all the schools. So we're very lucky with the school resources we have. I mean, to say that they are committed to the job is an understatement. But I want to get another school resource officer. So, interestingly enough, you get a town like Franklin, does less calls than us. They have more officers than us. They have more school resources than officers than us. Doesn't make any sense, but they do.
Didn't they have a $7 million override that got blown up a year or two ago?
Yeah.
They-
Well,
they got-
okay, well-
They had a different set of problems.
Okay, well, I'm talking about the policing side. That's why you're the committee. I'm talking about the policing side. So,
So right now, do you have any resource officers?
I have two.
Robbie to give.
Oh, you have two now?
yeah, we have two, and I wanted to increase it by one, and that one would be able to go to all the schools. Because we have one who's at the high school. You have one that's at Stacy that handles Stacy, Memorial, Woodland, and between the two of them, they have to, you know what I mean? It's just a lot of work.
Okay.
It's just a lot of work.
I'm sorry, David. Oh,
Real quick, just on that note, Mike, it is paid out of Chief Decino's budget. However, those expenses are part of the indirect cost allocation that does count towards the school, that school spending, yes.
The other thing, remember, is we've always discouraged adding permanent employees under temporary grants. So if you get a grant for a year or two, you really have looked down upon hiring somebody, because at the end of 2 years, if that grant isn't renewed. Which is what we're experiencing now with the school department. Well, we had the $3 million that was spread out over 3 years. In year 4, $1 million shortfall.
I'm sorry, David wanted to speak. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you came before the committee in the fall because you lost a grant that you were expecting.
Family services, yeah.
So it was family services. So is that lost, or is that within the budget? Or we lose that position, or is that?
No, we funded that position when we lost it last.
It's funded in this budget as well?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
That's great, so you kept, that's.
Yeah, and to, you know, and, I mean, Zach, you know, works with me pretty close. You know, he knows exactly what goes on in my day-to-day, because I have a lot of questions. But to the work that the Family Services Unit has done, I mean, I don't even know how to quantify it. They've kept people out of jail, they've kept people out of the hospital, they've kept people from killing themselves, they've kept people from hurting each other. I mean, we can go on. And that's also a division that is open to grant. To your point, I don't ever want to get into the position again that I rely on them, because to have the rug pulled out, you know, to be told you're doing a great job and this is great and you're awesome and you guys really did some stuff, but hey, we can't give any more money. That I still struggle with that. And I know Zach and I both have, you know, stared at each other on why that happened. But it is what it is. I know that the town has been the benefit of that unit for sure.
See, I don't see anybody on Zoom. Anybody else here have questions for the chief? No? Before you disappear, are there any, Chris, I'll ask you the same questions I asked the fire chief. Any line items on yours that you think we would get the benefit of Chief DeZino's input on?
Anything?
Yes. Well, I do.
And, you know, I know you had a radio question concerning the towers.
So, yeah, so you were before us before with the because of the frequency disruption
Yep,
between
yep.
Franklin and I think you got new radios
Yes.
to clear that up.
Yep.
So, Kurt, you want to come up here?
Sure, what the hell?
So within the IT budget, which I kind of, it's new this year, and I think I've never seen this before, the committee may not have either, is an amount in the 20, it begins with the two, $20,000, $25,000 for the corrections radio.
Yeah, Department of Corrections radio antenna that we added to our.
So I'm trying to figure out if there really is a need for that radio tower, if we got the radios to clear up the frequencies.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So,
Can you explain a little bit why?
So let me just say this.
Go ahead.
So beyond the radio conundrum that we had listening to Franklin Fire Department, that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
So we also never had a great radio system here, and it needed to be revamped beyond the frequency. We're lucky that we're able to get on that tower because to build our own tower, you're in the millions of dollars. And we have such a relationship with the DOC from the state, and we have such this back and forth with them with training and just a really symbiotic relationship that they allowed us to get on their tower. But their graciousness wasn't going to go over to, okay, we're going to pay for your infrastructure to go on our tower. If I'm getting this wrong, help me out.
You're spot on.
That's what that is. And that increases our radio capability. You know, I hate to say increases, because as a person who's lived in profession that's counted on radios, our radio system on that side of town was never good.
So I understand that this.
Oh, hold on, Chris wanted to say something.
Let me just add to his comment. In addition to what he's saying, the radios that they had prior were analog radios. And the state, as well as the country, is going away from analog. It's going to digital, or to P25. None of the technology they had allowed for that. So the new radios also covered getting to digital, getting to P25, but we also had to upgrade Highland Street Tower, which is the main tower, but that only still covers half the town. You don't get the Hopkinton side, you don't get the Holliston side of town. Sorry, voice is gone. And the DOC tower is a 250-foot tower. Biggest tower around. You can actually reach Brockton with that tower. So it covers all of Milford. It also helps us with our neighboring assist towns also. So that's what happened there, because we had issues in the past couple of years where calls would come in from various points of town and you can't hear them from the portable radio.
Yeah.
So to follow up, and I know you already said no, but I'm curious, because we have 2 other towers in town, is it possible to decommission one or both of them if this tower services to Brockton?
No, the primary tower is still the Highland Street Tower. And because it's the tower we own. We're leasing the space to use the DOC tower. That's a secondary tower.
And then there's another one tower somewhere. There's only 2 towers?
Only 2 towers.
Oh, I thought there was 3. Okay.
But you need redundancy, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That you can't rely on the DOC tower?
We can't rely on one tower only.
Okay.
Because when we had only one tower,
that's
we'd lose radio capacity in the town. But not just for fire, that's police and fire.
And
EMS.
And EMS.
Yes.
And that's, again, to your point, it's a required redundancy. That, you know, if there's a hurricane or something that takes out a tower, well, when you set up the infrastructure, right, and the state comes in and does the planning, they're like, wait a minute, you have one tower? Like, how does that work? Like, well, we hope nothing happens to it. Like, you know, but, I mean, I know it's, listen, like I said, we really are frugal, but that was a blessing. Like, I couldn't believe they're letting us go on their tire. Like, how many times did I say, no, ask them again?
Yeah.
I want it in writing.
6 months of meetings.
Like, they're really going to let us go on their tower? Like, this is going to happen? Because to build that tower is millions and millions of dollars. We're very lucky.
Can I just ask one more question?
Sure, go ahead.
Is that an annual cost? Is that a cost we'll expect each year in your operating?
So that's the cost that covers the electricity, the data, so we have to send internet service to there. So when the radio call comes in, it gets sent out to connect the multiple towers. That's all that cost is.
So it's not like, so this isn't the fee or anything like
Nope.
that?
No, this is not tower fee, this is not FAA fee, FCC fee, we've already paid those. They're one-time fees.
Gotcha, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Chief, with all due respect, I don't care what the state mandates.
Okay.
What you're telling me is this is the right thing to do for Milford.
We believe so.
I mean, I do care, but primary is the fact that if that tower went down and we have no backup,
Correct.
we're back to tin cans and strings.
Yeah.
Carly?
I think the only thing I'd like to add in, Chief Tassino hit on all the points, I think they work, just like the fire department, they work very judiciously to try to fit in this budget, and I think you underscored a bit, the needs are much greater than what we have in here. There's school resource officers, there's traffic supervisors, so they had to purposely make some choices to fit in the budget. If they had their way, there'd be a lot more that we could do, but the needs in the town unfortunately will not go down, they'll just continue to go up, but I appreciate all the work they do to stay in the budget that is important.
And I appreciate your help. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Chief, are we getting any extra demand because of the ice activities and?
Extra demand. So, yeah, we work with ICE, obviously. There is a demand, but it's nothing, I'll say this, that when ICE comes to town for an operation, they're pretty self-sufficient. I mandate that we have a bigger hand in it because I want to make sure that they have some oversight. You know, you're in our town, you're interacting with people who live in our town, and I think it's just more symbiotic and it's easier when we have a bigger presence with them to try to make sure it goes.
It seems like the impression is that they're just coming up and randomly rounding up people.
No.
Yet when I read the details, I see murderers, rapists, drug dealers targeted. Is that accurate?
It is. They only come to town with warrants. They're not picking up random people.
Anybody else? Thank you for coming in, Chief.
Thank you.
Highway Department.
Hello, Mr. Chairman, how are you?
For the clerk, you are?
Oh, Scott Christofoli, Highway Surveyor.
Thank you. What is this, 421?
421 highway. On 422.
Okay, I have a few questions, but before I ask mine, did you want to make any general statements?
Yeah, most of the increase in the budget was 421 salaries. Besides that, 421 is pretty much level funded. 422 is level funded. Besides an increase on major streets, which we've talked about in the past, we were going to increase that $100,000 a year till we hit $1 million. Last year we did 200. This year I put in for another 100. That's pretty much it. Questions?
Hold on, Zach,
I'm sorry,
have there been any discussions on the road construction line item?
I'd like to reduce it 50,000
Okay,
from the 100,000.
do you have any position on that, Scott?
If it's really necessary, yeah, I mean.
Well, to be fair, you told me that you got 200,000 in Chapter 70 money that was not.
Chapter 90, we
I'm
got.
sorry, Chapter 90, thank you for correcting me, that was not anticipated, is that right?
Well, that's what they're planning on giving us once the budget is approved. It's going to go up about 250,000, hopefully every year. That could be just this year. We got a second batch of money just came in, 156,000, I think, which is called Fair Share, which is also part of Chapter 90. So that increase is happening definitely. So, you know, there is a little extra money this year, for sure.
So what number is in the global budget that Paul circulated?
Reduced by 50.
It's reduced by 50. So I think the ask, Scott, is that because you got the extra money, because instead of doing 100 this year, could we do 50 this year and 50 next year?
Yes, that would, you know, it's something, you know, if we got to do what we got to do, that's fine. Like I said, it's something, and just to kind of explain all this, roads I had planned on doing last year, say it was $100,000 to do a small road, it is now $150,000. So we've gone up 50% in construction costs over the last 2 years. It's crazy. I'm hoping to see asphalt prices drop this year. Price of oil is dropping, and it's based on, you know, a barrel of oil. So if that drops, I think we'll see a hot top, you know, drop. But I don't think like things like concrete and steel and stuff like that's not going to drop at this point.
So just to put Chapter 90 in context for all of us, what is a typical increase in a typical year?
We have never had an increase in Chapter 90.
Okay.
Not as long as I've been here, 18
This year,
years.
it's 200 and 250.
Typically, the governor passes a bill for $300 million for road work. Every year, we lose $100 million of that. So we get $200 million a year in Chapter 90 funding. Once in a while, they'll throw us a little extra money at the end of the fiscal year. But but it's not all the time. So actually, our town Chapter 90 funding has gone down 50,000 since I started 18 years ago. It's actually gone down.
This is the first reverse.
No, 2 years ago, we had a little, I think I got another 150,000 in what we call pothole money. You know, they came up with that after a bad winter, and there's never been anything set besides the 800, and I think we're at 815,000 in funding now, which,
That's the annual.
that's been
Chapter
pretty
90.
solid, yeah.
I was
that.
gonna make that point. It's
Right.
typically, that has not increased.
No.
Kind of throw bones here and there. So
Right.
we do get extra, but that pot hasn't really.
But this year, it's going from 800 to $1 million roughly.
I think it's still as an additional bone, isn't it, Stuart?
Yeah, it hasn't been voted on yet at the state level, so,
As in like the main allocation will still be like the 815, and then they go, oh, what, we got the ability to give an extra 100,000 over.
right.
You know how that goes.
Okay.
Right, but we did get 156,000 in fair share. That's solid, that's already been
That's
put in.
state or federal?
57,832.
Bob, can you go on mute, please?
That is state. So I'm not sure. I think that's leftover money from grant projects they've done, and they give it back out as Chapter 90. Last year, they did the same thing, and you only had 2 months to spend it, because at July 1st, it was gone. So come July 1st, what they did is they handed us a check, basically, for $170,000. It didn't have to go through the same process as Chapter 90 with all the paperwork. We could just spend it on what we wanted to, which was great. I don't know if that's going to happen this year, so I basically have 2 months to spend that money. And it's very difficult, believe it or not.
Now, I don't know if this is a question for you, Paul, but Carly had raised the question at the last meeting that you've got an employee who, as I understand it, used to be in highway and now has moved over to the transfer station?
Yeah, so we had an employee that was running the transfer station and working highway. It was a split job.
They were on the highway budget.
They were, yes.
So we're trying to figure out, because it looks like, just eyeballing this, that this is a 6 or 7% increase in salary, and this is with one less person? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so the difference for that pay was like $24,000. That's what the highway was paying out of it.
24,000 was
Yeah, and
coming
I
out
think
of
it
the
was
highway.
$65,000 or $66,000 job. So the transfer station paid the rest.
All right, just let me do a little quick math here.
You didn't
I'm-
restate
I'm-
this by
I'm-
chance, did you? But I'm just doing the math, but did you restate the numbers for the shift to like restate the history?
I'm getting an 8% increase in wages to go from $1,494,000 to $1,615,000. 8%?
Yeah, 8.5.
And that's with
I got
the half a person gone?
Yes.
Help me.
You really want to know?
You still have half a person in there, as a mace, we talked about it yesterday. You just don't have.
Oh, we have a half a person in there for the part-time position, yes. We have a part-time position that we use on and off.
So we didn't lose a half a person in
We
highway.
lost half of, didn't I
Not
take?
in the way he's saying it.
Oh, okay.
All right,
I get it.
In a roundabout way.
explain it to me like I'm a 10-year-old.
So, transfer station is under the purview of Scott in the past few years. He hired an employee that was in the clerical union that he used half for the transfer station, the other half of the salary was in his 421 department.
Okay.
Subsequently, with this waste collection thing we talked about, this person retired, he hired a department head level employee that would now take over waste collection and transfer station.
And they're on whose
And
budget?
fully in transfer station.
Okay, so we lost a part-time person who was on the highway budget, based on what you just said.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind
It's
of?
one person, it's a full-time person that split budgets, right? It's one full-time person, worked half here, half there.
Okay, but the-
It's still a full-time person.
The new-
They fully went into transfer station.
I get it,
right?
I get it.
So now, but he also has an actual part-time employee budgeted in 421. So effectively.
To replace that other person that
I
retired?
don't know, you ask Scott.
So the person that was doing the transfer station was doing highway and transfer. So we need help in highway, especially in the wintertime with billing.
Okay,
and all
so is that
anyways.
a net neutral, that you lost somebody that was half
Basically,
a
yeah,
person?
but yeah,
And you're
basically.
replacing half a
And when
person?
I say part-time in highway, it's probably the minimum hours. It's not, even half of what that is, but I don't know what the
All
hours
right,
are
so
going to be.
rough
But yes.
justice, you're
Yeah.
replacing a part-time allocated highway to a
Yes.
part-time. So
Yes.
let's call it, that's a rough net neutral.
Yeah.
But we still have an 8% increase in salaries.
That's between the, you want to explain it a little?
It seems high.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
He does have a fully executed contract.
Yes.
All the guys have COLA and stuff like we normally see, right? But the, plus the first, the part-time person.
But that's
That
a,
is a plus, it is.
but that's a wash because you replaced somebody, you didn't add somebody.
Correct. Yeah, but they moved it over to 431. It's two different created positions with two different salary levels.
And 432 transfer station went up by 21% because of that personnel.
I get that.
Nothing's going up, nothing's
That
going up.
that part I get.
I'm totally confused. If the shuffle of people is a net neutral,
It's not,
Because there's a part-time position there that's not filled. That's,
You removed someone who was half on highway, and you're putting another half a highway person on. So that's
Net add.
that's a net neutral for the highway.
But that's combined as a net add.
It combined, it's a net add, because now you've also got the person who's on
so
the
you're saying
transfer
because of
budget.
Chutes and Ladders, the salary budget went up 8%?
That's the question I'm asking.
well, most of the salary went up because of COLA, because of steps, and all these.
8%?
Yeah.
8% seems high for Chutes and Ladders, as Al likes to call it.
Being institutionalized.
6.5 is what I'm sort of accustomed to hearing, which is high in and of itself.
yeah.
Even
But you guys
6,
are
our
giving
budget
us the
isn't going up
blessing.
6%.
Well, there's a 3% raise on overtime, which is a couple thousand.
They
there.
don't have page 2.
Well, it was.
They were sent, yes, but they don't.
Well, no,
All
it
that
just
detail
scares
is
me,
in that. You should
because
take
if
a
it
closer
steps
look.
in whatever, Chutes and Ladders, 8%, that's not sustainable.
I know.
Well, 6.5 isn't either, but 8 is doubly not sustainable, right?
Well, our budget goes up 4%, and this goes up 8. We're back to, I know I keep referring to 2003.
That's why everything's-
Where the Chutes and Ladders put us over, and we had to do,
That's why everything's level funded on my budget, because I had no more money to spend. I just got to work with what I have. I don't have control over that end of it. That's not my negotiation, so.
no, but again, like 2003, the number of people in the boat may have to be reduced someday
I get it.
if the price per person keeps going up to a point where it's not sustainable.
I totally get that.
Don't shoot the messenger is what you're saying.
Yeah, I know. I don't, I'm not, that's not my part of the
No, this is
budget.
not aimed at you, Scotty.
Oh, I know. Trust me, when I saw the numbers and I can't increase other things I'd like to increase to get more work done,
The other
it
small
affects
piece
me.
that does filter in here, as you saw with Jim Aslam with the increase in lifeguards and all that, and seasonal labor, and he has a lot of seasonal labor too.
Yeah, I don't remember you and I, when we met, Scott, talking about the seasonal labor, but I do remember Jim
Well,
saying that.
seasonal labor is what I used to get a lot of summer kids, we call them, so that's kind of gone by the wayside. A lot of high school kids don't want to work there. They just can't, they don't want to. So I have 2, what I call permanent part-timers. They're always there when I need them. Those are the guys I keep carrying along, because it's just, they're trained, they're licensed, and they can do the work. They're not just kids, so.
No, I get that.
Who does the contracted snow plowers? What budget does that come out of? Snow and ice or come out of
That's
yard?
snow and ice.
It comes out of snow and ice?
Yes.
All right.
Anybody else have questions for our highway surveyor?
I have one.
Go ahead, Bill.
Your best estimate of where you're going to come in on 2025 actuals? On budget, below budget?
It'll be, a total budget, I'll be within the budget. I'll be pretty close. I don't see anything, fuel is even coming down, so fuel is going to be okay. And I kept my fuel level funded, so, because I don't know. It's always a guess with fuel. We spent a little more this year with heat and electricity because we were working a lot of nights. So I think I should be fine. I don't see any projections that are going to be off.
Okay. The reason I asked is because the budget for this year is about $500,000 over 2024. And then for 2026, it's going up another 240,000.
So if you look at 25, we're pretty much level funded, same as 25. I don't see I'm going to have any issues. The only issue I've ever really run into is my repair and maintenance. That's always one that's tough. But we're gonna be okay. I think we're gonna be under.
So we did a big increase in the road construction line item last year, Bill. You see that went from like 500,000 to 700,000 because Scott had told us it was seriously underfunded. So I think that was the bulk of that and the personnel costs. And then this year's items we've just talked about.
But I think the point that Bill's making is it's salary. Salary went up from 24 to 25, and then it's going up again 25 to 26. The expenses themselves are relatively.
Yeah,
That's all contracted though, right? Is that all contracted?
collective bargaining, I assume.
Yeah, salaries is all in the contract, yeah.
Salaries.
Bargaining, yeah.
You'd be surprised to see another 8%, 26 to 25.
When does that run out? Like, when does this, like, when does it, how does that work? Like,
Every
when does
3
it
years.
stop and you- was it 3 years?
3 years, yeah.
What year are we on?
Second year?
First.
What was our first year, right?
26 will be the second.
The expiration is June of
26 is
27.
second year, yes.
So we can expect another 6 to 8% increase for next year?
I think, what was the first one? 2 3/4,
Yeah.
first increase?
Yeah.
And next year's
And
3?
at the rate, yeah.
Next year's 3, it's gonna be
They
more.
have, but people that step, that's where you get the double down.
Going up more, yep.
His program's much more condensed though, so a lot of his people are maxed out.
Well, they made
An extra step.
a step adjustment, I think, so a lot of people, that's what happened this year, is a lot of people jumped up a step.
The unions or the personnel board? Sorry.
If a lot of the people are maxed out, that wouldn't really
Union, yeah.
make sense that you have 8%.
Well,
Now they are maxed out
Oh.
as a re.
So it might go down next year, maybe.
Write that down.
The steps are,
Less of an increase.
but they decreased their step plateaus, like, in order for them to get to step 7, they had to have 25 consecutive years. The new contract now states 20 years.
right, they
They
brought
could go to
steps down.
step 6, it was 13, now it's down to 10.
Right, so that's what
So those
happened,
all
we had a lot of
decreased,
steps.
Everybody's bumping up sooner.
We had a lot of steps. A lot of people, a lot of employees step up.
Yeah.
Next level.
Yes, Al?
Have we felt anything yet with these new mandates on trucks that run on ever-ready batteries?
It's been held off for 2 years for us municipalities. We can get a 2-year, I guess, 2 more years wait before we have to start doing it. But I don't know if it's going to happen at all. Who knows? We don't know. Things are changing quickly.
I'm just wondering about infrastructure. I mean, when you got one dump truck that goes on diesel, you're gonna need 2 dump trucks that go on
Yeah.
batteries.
So it's,
We have the infrastructure to charge them.
we're not going to have that. And just the infrastructure for that's expensive, so I don't see it happening. The trucks are probably 75% more expensive than a diesel truck.
Each,
Yes.
and you need 2 of them.
Well, yeah, because you can only run them for 4 to 6 hours, and then they got to be charged for 2 or
Well,
3.
I'm thinking in the middle of a snowstorm, you gotta shut one down.
Yeah, it's not something that we hope happens too soon, because we're not ready for it. We're absolutely not going to be ready for that. But what's happened now is the mandate for the truck manufacturers is they have to sell, 1 electric for every 6 diesels, and they're not selling any electrics, so they can't sell the diesels.
No, I was reading that some towns are putting them aside.
Yeah, because they're not working. The sweepers are parked, they had electric sweepers, trash trucks they're having issues with now. Yeah, it's going to be a huge problem if it happens. Huge expense.
I don't know if there are any other questions on highway. Scott also has the transfer station. that's got a $50,000 or $60,000 bump. I assume that's all attributable to the new.
That's the salary, yes.
New individual.
Yeah, there wasn't any other changes, really. Trying to keep it level funded as best we can.
Anybody else have any questions for Scott before he departs?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention for the benefit of Mr. Farrell that asked the question, we do, out of Scott's is 421, 422, 423, with 423 being snow and ice. That one is currently deficit 200,000. It is the only municipal budget that could legally go deficit. Nonetheless, I'm still required to seek permission, which I did obtain from the selectmen. And I also have an article in anticipation of going deficit to clear it at this May town meeting.
Thank you. 800,000 this year?
What's that?
800 this year?
The deficit?
No, the total?
7.
Yes, no, 6 and 2.
Oh, 6, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, 6 and 2.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Think it was really fine.
If we don't get any more
Oh, bite your tongue.
Send the memo, no more snow.
Who do I send it to?
Zach,
Tell me where, I'll send it.
Zach, he controls all.
It's not, I mean, the cost to fight snow today is everything. It's just crazy.
What your salt cost this year?
Salt was, yeah, salt's gone up $20 a
What
ton.
are we at per inch? Any idea now?
Oh, don't ask me
It
that.
was 10,000, it was 10,000 an inch.
100,000? I don't know.
No, it was 10,000 a few years ago.
Yeah, we were consistent for a long time. The prices were right, the fuel was good, and contractors were all showing up, and now it's to get a contract, you gotta pay.
Nightly news, because when I hear 10 inches of snow, I'm thinking $120,000.
This is what happens is, the cost of contractors, if you can go work for Framingham for $120 an hour, why would you come to Milford for $100? That's the problem we run into. So I can't get people at my cost. It's really difficult. And what we've done is, every town gives an incentive of some sort, a sign-on bonus, whatever they do. We give a sign-off bonus, because I have no choice. And that right there is going to be worth $40,000 to $50,000 in snow money. I give $1,000 sign-off for perfect attendance, because otherwise we're not going to get anybody. It's just not there anymore. Nobody wants to plow snow. The people that will plow snow are not good at it, and they cost us more time and money than it's worth. And it's really difficult. The days of having a contractor come in with 20 pieces of equipment, they take care of everything, that's gone. We don't have that anymore. It's really bad. It really is. That's why I'm trying to do as much in-house as we possibly can. That's why I think we need water company workers. We need all these other departments to kick in. We could save thousands of dollars, thousands, but it's not there. I'll leave it at that.
Is the leaf collection process working okay?
Yes. Actually worked really well this year. We got it done way quicker than we thought. So with the new system we have, it was kind of a surprise for everybody, because we came Monday, but we didn't come back Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. We came back the following Monday. But everybody put their leaves out at one time. The whole town was jammed. So we came Monday, we didn't make the following Monday because we just couldn't. But we got it done. We got it done in 5 weeks. It worked out. So everything's good.
All right, well, thanks for coming in.
All righty, thank you.
Okay, last but not least, IT.
Thanks. Good luck. Any questions I haven't answered yet?
I think you got them all.
Okay, good.
I have a lot of
I know you
questions. I don't understand half of this, so I need you to. Okay, licenses. Licenses are going from 330 to 397.
Correct.
What is happening here? Why are we increasing our licenses by 20%?
So this past year, we had a request from the select board to make sure every committee member has an email address. Every committee member, every trustee, every voluntary person who works for the town or does anything for town has to have a town email address to make sure town communications are public record. That's not free. Each one has a cost. And depending on what that committee is going to be doing, the cost can be from $6 a month to $22 a month. If they're a very active committee and they require OneDrive or additional services, it costs more, just like it does for any paid employee here.
So there's a charge per person, and then there's a general volume
No,
increase?
it's just a general charge per person, and then that changes based on service requirements, so.
Let's see.
We went up by 13,000 for bricks. So bricks is the,
So hold on,
Yep.
I'm looking at the main sheet. So we just did licenses. Town meeting AV, 22,000.
Correct.
We didn't have anything for that before. What is
we
it?
didn't have anything there, all of COVID. So we had to use Boston Light and Sound because the audio system in the upper town hall is blown. We can't get anybody to replace the town hall audio system with the article last year because they want an environmental system in the room,
What does that mean?
air conditioning.
Okay. Because it was too hot, and that's why we.
That's why it fried in the first place, right?
In the first
We
one.
melted the first one down.
So of the 6 companies that we put it up to bid with, all 6 said no. Without an environmental control system, we're not going to put more equipment in there for it to die a year later. Makes sense.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
So what do we do about that?
So every town meeting, we have Boston Light and Sound. They come out, they do the audio, they connect Milford TV, and they make the entire thing work with Zoom, with you name it.
Or it
That's,
sits behind you guys over there.
yeah.
They do it temporarily
Yeah.
instead of permanently
And
installed.
and that happens twice. Is that
Correct.
what so it's 11 grand?
So about 11 grand per, yeah.
Okay.
And there's no alternative?
Sure there is. No remote, no audio.
Or HVAC system and then buy a system.
Correct, yes. But that's millions of dollars, then 125,000, so.
David?
So the remote, right, is that a requirement that the town has to have? Because the last town meeting, I think there was only 1 or 2 people doing remote. So for $11,000, so $5,500 a person seems like a lot of money for remote.
We are required to have an option for ADA and those who want to attend remotely. ADA, if we already have remote, we are required to provide a remote option. You know, anyone who knows ADA knows that.
So this is a state requirement? It's a state requirement?
It is a state requirement, yes.
Okay. The FCC, we talked about that 25,000. Now,
Yep.
refresh me, did you say that was a one-time cost, or is that recurring?
So we paid the one-time costs out of the dispatch project costs. The 25,000 covers the internet services that run to that tower and that connect the fire station, the Highland Street Tower, the police station, so on and so forth.
So what happens in '27? Does that 25,000 go away?
No, it stays there because we're continuing to pay monthly for services.
Okay,
But there are no more services to actually pay for the tower. That's done.
okay.
Yep.
And you certainly can't touch the cyber insurance. Boy, did that come in handy.
I remember the cyber insurance.
It did. Did we lose anything? Okay.
David, did you have it?
Yeah, I'm okay. World Bands, are those 2 separate contracts with them? Because everybody's saying 2 different
Yes.
areas of town? Can we consolidate into one? Would it be more cost effective to get one big contract from these guys?
I wish. Public safety just covers police and fire. And to combine it, because of what we do for police and fire, it doesn't make sense in the contract wording to add in town services on top of public safety.
What exactly does World Band do?
So World Band is our third-party IT support company. And last fiscal year, when we had taken over dispatch, or taken over police as IT in general, we had a lot of fixing to do, and I didn't have the staff to cover public safety and the rest of town, because public safety is its own needy child. So the best scenario for me was to hire World Band under contract 24/7 for them to take care of it. A hell of a lot less than hiring an employee.
Right.
And they cover it 24/7. It allows me to sleep at night, which is nice. And it prevents my staff from having to deal with public safety issues, and they can stick with the town issues. So
So if a system is down, That's what they're there for?
That's correct. Yep. They have the federal certifications, same as I have. They have the state certifications, same as I have.
So are all of these continuing costs on a go-forward basis? Is this sort of baked in for future years? Or is any?
So the only cost that's going to go away in 3 years is and if you go to, in licensing, you have bricks, which is a $6,500 per year cost for the next 3 years as part of the agreement for the overall alerting system for the fire department. After that ends in 3 years, Mark's budget picks up the slack. It's not $6,500 a month, it's like $3,000 a year. But we're paying the $6,500 a month as part of the contract, the way it was put together, so.
Well, this is $6,500 monthly cost, $13,000 yearly cost.
Yeah, it's 16,000 times 2.
It's a biannual.
Yeah.
Oh, it's biannual. So there's no monthly cost, it's just
Correct.
$16,000 a year?
6,500 a year, so it's
65, oh, I see.
13,000 a year.
Okay.
Yep. But in 3 years, it goes away.
Well,
Chris, do we have all the hardware we need to support these activities?
Could you be more specific?
We're going to see capital requests coming our way.
Well, in the past couple of years, we've replaced the IT infrastructure at the police department, at the fire department, here at Town Hall, as well as most town buildings. You should not hear from me for IT-related servers and equipment for a few years.
There's no other side projects that you expect, like cameras and...
Well, yes, there is the camera project that I'm hoping to push forward.
But that's a capital item.
It's a capital item, yep. Which is less than it used to be.
But then, usually when there's capital items, there's ongoing maintenance contracts and stuff like that.
Typically, when it comes to IT, yes. But I don't have any major IT purchases. Oh, Lauren has a question.
Lauren?
I was just wondering, Chris, if you're thinking about what will happen if the current bill talking about hybrid participation passes.
So,
Because if it does, that's not just an ADA requirement. That would be pretty much a state mandate.
so last week, the governor's office put out the decision, which is already out, which they extended the remote participation for another 2 years, as well as discussions about making it permanent. So that was released by the state last week. I can send you all the link if you don't have it.
But is that just memorializing the state of affairs that we're talking about now?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, what they did is they extended the COVID emergency order that Governor Baker initiated, but there's also a bill pending before the legislature. It didn't pass last session, but it's H3299 if anybody wants to look it up. But if it does pass, it would require all municipalities to provide hybrid. So it's not just an ADA thing. ADA is required regardless.
Yep.
But open meeting law generally requires everybody to be in person. The governor's order is an exception to open meeting law, and the proposed bill would change open meeting law, and remote would be just standard practice. It's like basically infrastructure. It's a change in municipal infrastructure to make it more accessible, not just to disabled, but to everybody who wants to participate remotely. And for whatever reason, transportation issues, whatever reason, they can't make it to town hall. So it's just something to consider, because it may be an expense down the road.
Well, hold on.
Sorry.
When we talk about municipal hybrid, are we still talking about town meeting, or are we talking about
Every meeting. Every open
It
meeting.
would change open meeting law.
That's a different situation, but that's not a this year issue.
Correct. But
Something
much
else for us to look forward
to what Lauren is saying,
To look forward to.
Yeah, there's no optionality if it's the law, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think about all these subsidiary meetings.
Yeah, all straight.
much to what Lauren is saying, is that not only are we going to have to look ahead to see what it's going to cost, but if the state mandates and it makes it part of the infrastructure for open meetings, we're going to have to plan budgeting for it regardless. So,
Well, what was approved is the extension of the $22,000 a year. What were you saying the governor extended? It would affect us $22,000 a year for the next 2 years.
That's for the town meetings.
that's for town meetings.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But nothing else has been mandated.
Correct. Yep.
Seems hard to me to believe some of these smaller towns would be able to absorb the technical obligations of dealing with that, but I guess that's a problem for another day. Anyone else have questions for Mr. George?
Come on, really? I'm the last one. Give me
Carly?
something.
Sorry, Chris, you may have said this, I apologize. In the increase on licenses, you said it was because we get more people on emails.
Well, for that particular line, yes.
Yeah. How much of that increase, like 25%, half, is a one-time just to get people on it, or now
It's a monthly charge, unfortunately.
it is, so
Yep.
we got to pay per seat as we move forward?
Correct.
Got it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Paul?
Along the same lines with that, we have people that are new members, we have people that are fall off. I won't say that they're old members, but people who are no longer members of committees. Do we have a vehicle so that those people we're not still paying licenses for, who are no longer either committee members or trustees or employees or whatever it is?
For staff, we have a process with HR. HR lets us know, we cycle them out of the system, we delete the license, and we archive the email.
You have HR? Yeah, we have HR.
We do. I know.
And so there's probably as many people that are on committees and boards as well, so what, is there a vehicle for that or not necessarily?
So there's a vehicle for that. What I usually do is I work with David, who's our staff. We go through every month. We figure out who is still on a committee and who's resigned. We either archive the license or move it to the person who's taken that position. But unfortunately, because open meeting law and public record, we can't eliminate email addresses in general. We have to keep them. And for most cases, in perpetuity.
When you
Activate them?
Yes, they're all archived. When they're archived, there's no license. We just can't delete the data.
But you can reactivate the license. You
Correct.
can reuse it.
Yep.
But we lose that charge anyway.
Yes.
Okay, so that's good.
I got one more question, I'm sorry, because I keep on looking ahead, because this salary, the contract, I mean, do we know what, because it was 6.8% increase this year because of steps and COLA, I believe it is, right? For the
Yeah, that's all it was, a step and COLA.
Right,
Yeah.
6.8, so what are we looking at for the year after? Still 6.8 or greater than that? I just want to know what we're going into.
Article 2 is published in May, so
Yeah.
we'll see whatever the steps are in Article 2. whatever-
Oh, it's different, it's different than,
It's the personnel board, right? So this is all the personnel board, Article 2.
oh, so it's not union?
No.
Okay, I got.
But you can look at Article
There's no IT union. Please don't mention one.
Oh, you're not part of
Please don't mention one. IT people would love a union. Please don't do that.
So this is,
You don't want a union for IT.
Look and see the steps.
I thought it was union, okay.
Okay.
You'll be broke.
Anything else?
It's true.
No. Thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.
Maybe I'd like to make, after he's done,
Oh.
something separate.
Oh, sure.
Oh, okay.
All set, thank you. Is this under
May I?
subcommittee department updates? or-
Yes, it has to do with budgets.
Go to it.
I would like to see if there's a way that we could break out non-recurring expense line items for budget presentations each year for all departments. An example was one here where he said that is a one-time item, and it was asked, well, will it be there next year? And he said, no. Well, that's kind of an honor system, because who's going to remember a year from now that that one-time item was really a one-time item instead of it getting buried into the budget next year? If you present your budget, and I'll use the school department as an example all day long, but it applies to all departments, that if you have a one-time item, it should be clearly stated in your budget presentation in a separate column so that it absolutely will not creep back into the operating budget the following year. And that happens.
Do you have any thoughts on budget?
I didn't have the beginning, but I did want to give an example of how that does work. Chris Pillar's budget, where we take out the OPEB audit every other year, it is clearly stated as OPEB. We are upfront that it's in this year, out next year, and yes, honor system, but we've honored it. But what was the question?
Mike is asking, I think, in the context of budget guidance, if we can ask people to have a demarcation of one-time items that we can expect to not appear in the subsequent years.
I think it's very reasonable, yes.
Going forward, I'll manage that for you,
There you go.
Andy.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
There you go.
And I'll have it clearly stipulated on your reports.
Thank you.
Do we have a warrant?
Tuesday, potentially, not yet, we will. but
Next
not-
week.
Not voted to.
So that goes to scheduling the school Committee, as I understand it, has another internal budget meeting on April 3rd, which is a Thursday. So what I'm going to propose is that our next and hopefully final budget meeting, where we'll have schools and then we'll talk about the overall budget, will be on Wednesday, April 9. The objective there would be to finish the budget and hopefully start the warrant, and then I assume we'll need at least one more night to complete the warrant. Is that okay with everyone? Okay, hearing no great protest.
You talking subcommittees? I didn't hear you there.
Main committee meeting.
I'm sorry, I was talking about the main committee meeting.
Yeah.
So I was saying, in light of the April 3rd school committee budget meeting, our next main committee meeting is going to be April 9,
Okay.
where we'll finish the budget and we'll also start on the warrant. Did anybody else want to say anything else about departments or budgets before we do our
I
motion?
would suggest you reserve April 9th and April 16th,
I think, yeah.
because we're going to need 9 to finish this and start the
We're
articles.
definitely going to need one other night, so, I suppose if people want to start planning their April calendar, it sounds like there's a pretty good chance we will need the 16th. I agree. Okay, motion? Yes, Bill?
I have a question. Is there a way where progress against the current year budget is tracked and compared? For example, understanding where we are actual versus budget expenses during the current year.
Bill, I'll answer that. Every month, I generate the monthly reports as far as revenue, expenses, monthly general fund, the sewer, the water. Every month I send out the reports to Paul, and he downloads them on your tablets or your website. So and anytime you want them separately, in case you can't find them, call my office. I'll email them out to you. But I could send them out every month, and you'll see where they stand as far as what's been used and what's still available, right up to the point I send them. And matter of fact, you should be getting them. It's the 26th. Next week I'll be sending out the month of March, so you'll have
The only
them.
thing to be careful of is some of these budgets have encumbered. So it looks like it's not halfway through the year, you're not halfway through the budget.
That'll really only happen on salaries and wages, where the system will automatically say, you have $100,000 left in your salaries and wages, but for April, May, and June, $60,000 is for your salaries and wages, so you'll have 40 left over, something like that. So the encumbrance will only show on the
I
salaries.
just wanted to give them the heads up, because that can get confusing.
Bill, feel free to come in at some time, we'll give you a tour.
Absolutely.
Can I add to that? Can I add to that real quick?
Yeah.
Because that's a great point. Do we have analysis once every so often of the capital items that, the givebacks, if it's done and there's still funds there sitting there?
It's,
How often do we do that?
so each month of those monthly reports,
It's there?
there's town meeting articles and school articles.
Right, I've seen that.
So those are the ones. Those are all the articles that are open, how much has been spent, how much is remaining there.
But when
One
comes the
time
point
a year,
that-
one
sorry.
time a year, Tom runs the article when we hit up every single
They get back.
department, kind of strong on them, if I'm being honest.
That's for the May meeting, isn't it, Brownie?
Yeah.
Where you go through it all and say,
That's the
how
May
much can I
meeting?
claw back?
One of the last two articles, close out of articles and what's
Yeah.
returned. Yeah.
Could be some big dollars in, huh?
Sometimes last year was huge because of the portable classroom.
That's right, yeah.
Gave back almost 1.8.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. This year, just so you know, it's running
It's
low. It's running very slow. We're trying like mad. You may see less than 100,000 this year.
It's in the reports that get distributed each month, though.
Yeah, each report will show salaries and wages, expenses, and then any articles against that account.
Except school department?
That's cool.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Brant, motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
David, second. Roll call, David?
Yes.
Mike, Bill, Al, Brant, Carly, Bob, Joyce.
Yes.
Joyce, give me a thumbs up. Thumbs up? Yeah? All right, we're going to count that as a thumbs up. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.